Hello you plonkers and welcome back to another video on the True Footy channel.
Lads football.
Today we're talking trades. This content idea has been flogged like Jesse has been flogging his sausage recently around town. But nevertheless, we're going to be ranking every team from 18th to 1st in the trade period. Lots of interesting trades, lots of new dynamics are going to be in the AFL next season. And we're going to get into it, talking about all the different teams. 18th to 1st. Let's have it. 18th, absolute stinker, Collingwood.
Yeah, this was a real fart of a trade period, as they say. I believe Damien Barrett used those exact words.
Did he?
Obviously not.
I was going to say, that was a bit left field for Damien Barrett, eh? Fart. Ooh. I'm sorry, I have sinned.
What?
Lost Jaden Stevenson.
Yeah.
Lost Adam Treloar.
Yeah.
Amongst two other list fillers. Who were they?
R2
D2?
Bozanovalagi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I call him D2.
R2 Bozanovalagi, we'll go with that.
Yeah. And Tom Phillips as well.
Oh, Tom Phillips. We forgot about Tom Phillips.
He's a bit more of a list filler. He was like a best 25 player, good depth to have. But then again, probably if he's getting overpaid, one of those players you'd probably be happy to let go. I don't know if I'd say the same thing for Treloar and Stevenson though.
Definitely not. And also, something that I thought was quite interesting, missed out on Ben Brown. And they've been calling out for a big forward for years.
True.
Mason Cox is about as consistent as Bush on a Saturday night. Treloar's in his prime now, but Stevenson could have been a franchise player for them in the forward line. Little DeGoey. So, stinker, Collingwood.
An on-field nightmare because they lost 4 players, but it's also a PR nightmare. They originally denied it was a salary cap issue and then penned a letter to their members saying it's a salary cap issue and saying, good players wanted to come play for Collingwood, but they couldn't because of the salary cap. So maybe Ben Brown was someone who wanted to play for Collingwood, but they couldn't afford him. But either way, the way they've treated their players as well, I think that's probably the most damaging thing from here. Everyone at the moment thinks Collingwood's an absolute fart of the club for that reason.
As said by Damien Barrett. The 17th best, or the second stinkiest.
17th best is optimistic.
It's GWS. And there's always been a bit of issue with GWS, big players wanting to leave. They've lost their Coleman medalist, one of the best forwards in the competition. That's going to take the wind right out of their sails. Jeremy Cameron to Geelong, to a premiership contender.
Yep.
That'll push GWS down the pecking order off the ladder.
Yeah, that's a thing people forget as well. Losing, it's one thing to lose one of your best players, but to lose it to a club that's potentially playing against you deep in finals as well, that's like a double burn for GWS.
Zach Williams as well, obviously, and that's like same sort of player as Nathan Wilson, 2 half-backs that they've lost. The GWS Exodus, you've talked about it in a video. Aiden Core and Zach Langdon. It'd probably be hard for them to crack the 22 anytime soon, so it's fair enough for them to leave. But yeah, there's good talent gone.
Yeah, I think they lose players every year, but Cameron and Williams in particular are true. I think they're two they'd look at and go,
Best
wow,
10,
really wish I hadn't lost those.
Yeah.
I was comparing it to like Shield who left and they're probably like, okay, we can afford to lose a Shield, but I don't think you can afford to lose Jeremy Cameron.
Definitely not. And also getting Jesse Hogan, that just makes it even more stinky. I doubt he will have a good career. I don't think he has it anymore. Hey, I think he's lost that fire, that edge that he's had. And yeah, I don't think he'll fill the boots of Jeremy Cameron at all. I think that'll be more of a Harry Himmelberg sort of job. I think he'll be the main forward. It'll be good to see Jesse Hogan playing well again. I hope he does, but I don't see it happening. They've got 4 picks in the top 20. So, solid.
I mean, they're pretty good at drafting, except they just keep bleeding players back to Victoria after a couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them should they manage to take those picks well.
Draft picks are fickle for them, really,
They
aren't
are.
they? Dockers are in at 16th. My boys lost a key forward who was meant to be the replacement of Matthew Pavlich. Brought no one in. We got the 12th pick, but beyond that, not a lot happening at Freo. Definitely could have got some young talent or sort of traded for better picks. We got 55 for Hogan.
That's a burn considering how much he paid for him just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a loss, but again, can't really criticise Fremantle for the way they've handled it, I don't think.
All right, the Wooden Spooners, the Adelaide Crows. Lost Brad Crouch, All-Australian for them. Rory Atkins, bit of a loss as well. But they got the first pick. But in terms of trade, in the trade period, probably didn't do too well.
I think the only thing that you could say against them is Brad Crouch, pick 23, not great compensation, but the only thing you could say they didn't do was match the bid for him, and that would have risked the fact that Brad Crouch would have been stuck at Adelaide, and I don't think Adelaide would necessarily want to keep him because he just got done for possession, and Ed St Kilda just wanted to get him,
True.
and he just wanted it out, so
and I mean his prime won't link up with the Adelaide youth either, so no, not too stinky of a trade period, but not one that
just
will be
a little bit of a hint of a fart,
just a bit of a queef.
It's just like when someone was like, "Is that a fart or is the bin a bit stinky?"
14th, we've got the Sydney Swans. So, Aliria has left to a very stacked Port side. They've brought in Tom Hickey, so they've lost one, got one in. Probably net loss But, Sydney are a young side. They'll be banking on their youth. Not really going to be trading in any big names. Pick 3 as well for Sydney. So, yeah, banking on youth. Richmond probably did have a net loss, but when you win a premiership, what does it matter? They've lost Jack Higgins. Probably couldn't crack the best 22 after his brain surgery. Poor fella. And Oleg Markov. Good name, good haircut, shit footballer. And that's why they come in at 13th. There's some birds over there.
Yeah, should we go say hello?
Yeah, lads.
Yeah, they're actual birds.
They're parrots. Gold Coast, bit of a stinky midsection side.
You've got a stinky midsection.
They lost 2 metre Peter, who's pretty much the ginger Australian version of Mason Cox. Has a good game from time to time, but just not that great. Rory Atkins in, he'll do well to, bring up the maturity of the list.
It really was a salary dump on the chest of Essendon. So to get that done for a 4th round, it doesn't seem like good business, but it frees up their salary cap.
Just a steamy stinger on the chest. And they've got the 5th pick. Probably the latest pick they've ever had, sort of thing in a draft, eh? They'll probably be like, God, what's going on here?
Oh, talent's gone, mate.
Why are we not being handed picks? Shit. 11th best. 7th stinkiest is Hawthorn. Now, they brought in Tom Phillips, who had a good season last year. Like for like with Isaac Smith. Younger, I think that's good for them. Cole Hardigan came in. Will he be the best 22 next season?
I think they just needed him because they needed a sort of a tall back. I don't think he's a long-term solution, but they're just kind of filling a hole there and for pretty much no cost. And Phillips, like you said, is a younger replacement for Smith. And they've talked about wanting to make their list younger this offseason. So you have to say they kind of achieved that.
4th pick as well, which is probably the earliest pick Hawthorn have had in a long time.
Yeah, I think quite literally the first or the earliest pick since like the Roughhead Buddy draft.
True.
I reckon. So I think they had Mitch Thorpe in 06. He wasn't as high as pick 4.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, exactly. So,
MMA. So 10th spot. Now, people say Essendon had a stinker, but I think they actually did okay.
It depends how you look at it. If you look on how they performed during the trade period, you could say they did quite well. But if you look at it net in versus out, then you'd say their best 22 is a lot weaker.
Could have got a lot more value if they traded at the times where, Orazio was on top, Danaher was on top. But they got pick 6 for Danaher, and I don't rate Danaher that much. I don't think he'll ever be an All-Australian again. I think he was a bit of a one-season wonder. Sorry, Joe, if you're definitely not watching this video.
He loves the Drewzy YouTube channel.
Orazio, Sard, and Danaher. Big losses, but to have pick 6, 7, and 8, they weren't going to make finals next year with those players in anyway. Start the rebuild. They've got a good, decent young list. I don't hate the trade period for the Bombers.
I think Sard is the big loss because Fantasia and Danaher weren't giving them too much, but you're right. I think adding Caldwell as well, who's basically like a first rounder from 2 years ago, and then 3 top 10 picks. It's a really good opportunity now.
So 9th, we have the Eagles.
Yeah, so the Eagles obviously traded like all the draft picks in the world for Tim Kelly last year. So came into this trade period with not much to give, and we obviously want to improve the list, week 1 finals exit. So adding 2 players that I think can play in round 1 or at least be an emergency would be Zach Langdon and Alex Witherden. Witherden in particular, I think he could be a long-term player for the Eagles, and we gave up not much. So while you can't put them as a massive winner because they're not like outstanding players, I think for the picks that we had, the Eagles did a really good job. I think the fans are all really happy.
Do you think it was worth getting Tim Kelly in for all those picks?
I think it will be, but I think the value will be shown over time. If we can keep refreshing the list around him, it could be. It's going to be a long-term one, that one.
So in at 8th, I've put the Roos. Kanga. Yeah, that's fucked.
No.
They've lost Sean Higgins, who's been one of their best players for the last few seasons, and obviously Ben Brown as well. Not quite a Coleman medalist, but as close as you can get. Like my sexual experiences. Not quite hitting the mark.
As close as you can get to Ben Brown.
Boner. Jaden Stevenson is a huge in. First season in the league, rising star. Second season, TAB. Third season, Collingwood and COVID. Stevenson, new run, new club, young list, new coach.
Are you rapping right now? Because that is flowing.
I eat cockroach. Aiden Core, young talent. Lockie, young talent. Obviously Jaden Stevenson and R2D2 validating.
Yeah, they needed youth desperately this offseason, cutting like 11 players. I don't love the way they've turfed Ben Brown. I think he would have been good to keep. But Higgins, they gave away for pick 31.
That's good.
That's good business. I think North have made a positive step.
Definitely could have traded Ben Brown for a bit more value. Hold pick 2 and 11 in the draft as well.
I would have held on to Brown for another year and see if they could trade him for a first rounder because like every other year other than this injury-riddled year, he's kicked like 60 goals.
Now, 7th is Brisbane. They brought in Joe Danaher. Now, I don't like this trade, but they brought in Cockatoo as well. Solid player to add to the list. They didn't really need to strengthen, but bringing in 2 players that have, like, Joe Danaher has all-Australian potential in lots of people's eyes, and Cockatoo.
But you were actually saying last night that you enjoy a cockatoo.
Or 3. Cockroach. Personally, I'm a nuffy, so I don't know if Joe Danaher has what it takes to be a top 4 side key forward. I like Eric Hipwood. Will it stunt Hipwood's growth? Probably not.
I think he was All-Australian 3 years ago, so they're banking on him sort of returning to that form, and if he does, it's really good. And I think even just to have that tall presence to take the pressure off Hipwood, now Hipwood doesn't have to be the number 1 man along with McStay. I do think there's going to be benefits to Brisbane, even if he's not kicking 60 goals.
6th, we've got the D's, purely because they brought in Ben Brown, huge forward. Wiedemann had a good season, and obviously this will free up Wiedemann to not be the main man if they can form that midfield connection between Clary and Big Track to the Big Boner. That'd be a good connection. And I think, Melbourne have clearly improved their list.
Tom McDonald wasn't quite cutting it for them, and Bruce and Hannon leave, but they're back into the first round, or top 20 of this draft. They traded out of it last year. So all in all, a pretty productive trade period.
Now, lots of people had these guys rated higher. So I've put Port at 5. So they brought in Alir. So nice. They named him twice. Lads. Alir. Imagine having the same name as your last name and writing it on exam.
You just put Alir squared.
And they brought in Radio Fantasia as well. So a lot more Friday night footy coming up for them.
Probably.
Alir and Fantasia for the side that finished top of the ladder. No harm done there at all.
Yeah.
No one left. Good position.
Didn't have a first rounder as well, so anytime you improve your list without a first rounder, you got to give them a tick, and they really needed a tall back as well, so good plus for them.
Not to say that they've had a bad period by rating them 5th, but the top 4 I think have had a really strong trade period. 4th, my most hated side to play against in the last 2 years.
Of course, yeah, you've had some bad memories against them.
Carlton, a side that was a fringe 8 side. Yeah, strengthened with 2 good halfbacks. Adam Sard, Zach Williams, Sam Doherty. Will that be too attacking, or do you think they can keep it together?
No, I think Sard adds a lot of speed. There's a point of difference for them as well. I think Doherty's more of your general. It does sound like they want Williams to maybe push up into the ground into a wing or the midfield as well. I think it's just run and carry that Carlton have now. So with Cade Simpson retiring, they've turned a weakness into a strength. I'm really bullish on what they've done. Lockie Fogarty, I didn't expect him to go for another young mid, but I guess Geelong probably didn't have a use for him, and they were like, all right, this is actually a pretty good deal from our perspective, so why not?
My favourite fans go for this team, the St Kilda Saints, and we've put them 3rd, so maybe me and the Saints fans could chill out for a bit and actually not hate on each other so much.
You literally have a video called Abusing St Kilda Fans.
And it's one of my favourite videos. Brad Crouch in, Jackie Higgins in. So I'll actually enjoy watching the Saints now without hating on them. And Sean McKernan in.
Oh, well, they finished 6th and won a final, so they got into that top 6 in the end.
Strengthen the list, making a top 4 charge perhaps.
Big fan of their off-season, adding in Brad Crouch cost them nothing, free agent, and then Higgins as well for a pretty good deal. I think Higgins is a really talented young kid, adds a different dynamic to their forward line, and St Kilda have put 2 back-to-back really good trade periods, so they've kind of almost traded their way into top 6, potentially top 4. I'm going to say top 6 for now.
When you're that fringe club trying to push for a premiership, you can't really afford to have trade periods that don't pay off. Woof, motherfucker. We got the Dogs in at 2nd.
Oh, yuck.
That was terrible, eh? Stephen Martin a bit old, but Adam Treloar, huge in. One of the best midfielders in the comp, in my opinion. One of my favourite players to watch. In his prime, Dogs, again, finished, 7th? Midfield is going to be so thick, juicy.
Thick with 2 C's.
I'd say 3.
Yes.
Bontempelli, Lockie Hunter, Dunkley, Bailey Smith, McRae. Held on to Dunkley. He'll probably still leave by the sounds of it. Liberatore as well. Frees up Bontempelli to go forward if needed, because Norton's an absolute stinker of a forward. Free up Bontempelli, take some load off his shoulders again.
Gross. I have a counter argument to this that I'm talking about on my own video, but my only thing that doesn't put them as the biggest winners for me is the fact that they don't really need Treloar at all. Dunkley himself can't even crack a full-time gig in that midfield. They probably had other needs. That being said, to get Treloar for what was basically a second rounder when you do all the algebra, they've done very, very well from that perspective.
Mitch Hannon has also joined, and that's just a serviceable player that can come in, fill a spot,
the cannon
do a job. What?
The cannon.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying something, but obviously not. Right. Meow, motherfucker. The Cats are first. The Cats are in at number 1 for me. So close to winning a flag. They were up by 3 or 4 goals at halftime?
Yeah, I think it was nearly 4 goals, yeah.
Just if they had a Jeremy Cameron in their forward line or a Isaac Smith 3-time premiership player on the wing, or a Sean Higgins.
Very good player.
They've absolutely bolstered their list, and it would be one of the best teams of the modern era if they don't win a flag with the list they have next season.
Yeah, true. I think the one that comes to mind as well is St Kilda with like Riewoldt and Goddard and stuff like that. But if you look at the star power of this Geelong side over like that 3-year period, if they get close this year, yeah, it'd be very, very tough.
They're going to be so OP. They lost Cockatoo, who's a good young talent. But, you know, when you're getting Jeremy Cameron, Isaac Smith and Sean Higgins, you can't be complaining.
And they can probably just keep doing this forever for as long as people want to play for Geelong, which is for the foreseeable future. There's no reason Geelong just can't keep doing this.
No draft picks, but who needs draft picks when you've got 2 Coleman medalists in your forward line? All right, that's going to wrap up this video on the Drew's Footy channel. If you like these sorts of videos, let me know. Drop a comment. Obviously, subscribe to True Footy, who has just hit 10,000 subscribers.
I have. Thank you very much. Everyone who's gotten around it.
5 digits. I enjoy making these videos. So if you like them, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a sub, and share it around. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video, you plonkers.
Catch it, lads.